So today I'm going to be making a rainbow geode. I'm going to be using Artworks resin. It's great stuff. Comes in a part A and a part B, like you see here. It's a little bit chilly out. It's about 68 degrees, so I had to put this in front of a space heater for about 5 minutes, which warmed it up. So now it should be good to go. So I'm just going to give it a little bit of a mix. This is part A. You do equal parts of part A and part B. Don't forget, you need to wear a respirator mask. It's very important when working with epoxy. So I'm just going to put that on. Now what I'm going to do is get myself some gloves and put these on. Another important part of working with epoxy resin, you want to keep your hands protected. This stuff is really sticky and it can get pretty messy. So this is what I made. This is a geode slice. I made it out of a MDF wood that you can get at Home Depot. What I do is I just draw it out and then I use my jigsaw to cut it out, sand down all the edges, and then I just sprayed some white spray paint on it to use as a base. Now these are the colors that I'm going to be using. That's an orange, a lime green, and a purple. What you're looking at is pigment powder by Arteza is the brand that I'm using today for this project. Those are the colors that I used. They come in a pack of 60. I got it on Amazon. So what I use are some Dixie Cups, the ones with the lines on it. So helps me measure out my resin when I have to do the equal parts. So now I'm pouring part A into one of the cups. I did about up to the 5th line. When you're working with epoxy resin, you have to make sure that you're measuring exactly equal parts. Otherwise, it won't cure correctly. Now I'm going to take part B and fill up my cup to the 5th line, just like I did with part A. Then what I do is I take one of the parts and pour it into the cup with the other part. If you're working with a lot of epoxy resin, you might want to get a plastic mixing cup to pour both of them in. That way you have more room to mix it and it won't spill over the top all over your hands. I always make sure to get every single drop out of these cups because this stuff is costly and you don't want to waste it, and you also want to make sure that you have the exact amount in there when you're mixing it so you get a good end result. Next, this is my timer. I got that on Amazon too. This one timer is for 6 minutes, but the Artworks resin you only have to mix for about 4 to 5 minutes. So I'm just going to go ahead and stir this up, making sure I am scraping all of the sides and the bottom. Okay, now that it's all mixed, I have my cups here with my pigment powder in them, and I'm just going to pour the resin into these cups. It's important that you try to get your big cup of resin that you just mixed out and dispersed into smaller cups. Otherwise, you can risk having it heat up and start to get hard. So this very second, I just decided I was going to pour some resin around the edge of the geode that I'm going to use almost like a glue, because I have plans to sprinkle some cellophane confetti on the edge. One, I like the way it looks, especially when it's under a second layer. And two, it's going to act as a barrier, so when I pour the resin all over the geode, it won't slide off the edge. So I'm just going to drizzle the resin all along the edges of the geode and then use my popsicle stick to spread it out. Okay, now I'm going to grab my cup that I poured the resin in with the pigment and give it a good mix. I suggest mixing this for at least a minute. Make sure it's completely and thoroughly mixed. Otherwise, you will get little spots, like little clumps that look like they're melting into your art, and that is not good. So give it a good, thorough mix. I'm just gonna put another pair of gloves over the gloves I'm already wearing because it gets really messy and I don't want to get resin all over my glitter. So I think I'm gonna add some orange glitter into my orange resin to make it pop, just like that. Give that a good mix for at least 30 seconds. Now I'm going to add some purple glitter into my purple resin. Then going to give that a good mix for at least 30 seconds. And then the same for the green. I'm putting some green cellophane type glitter into the green. I'm going to give that a mix for about 30 seconds. Okay, now I'm going to take that cellophane type snowflake glitter I told you about, and I'm just going to sprinkle it straight from the bag all around the edge, trying not to miss any spots. It doesn't matter how thick you put it on, really, because ultimately in the end I'm going to be ending up putting a clear coat over it. And I really like the way this confetti glitter looks when it's a base layer and you put a layer over it. It gives it depth. Okay, I'm going to start from the center, and this is going to be a rainbow geode. So I think we're going to do the purple around the middle and then work our way out and have the red be on the edge. So I just give it a little mix. And then I start to pour it. I don't go all the way to the edge with it because I know it's all going to drip towards the middle anyway. So I'm just going to pour around the circle. And then I will use my stick to just spread it out to the edge. Okay, next I'm going to add a little circle right here just to make it different. Use up all the excess purple that's in my cup. Don't want to waste any. Now I'm going to take the green, give it a swirl, and I'm going to try to leave a space in between the purple because that is where the blue will go. And now I'll do the same with the orange, give it a swirl, And then I'm going to pour that around, keeping space away from the green to make room for the yellow. And now it's time to grab the torch. This is a propane torch, benzomatic. Just light that, and then you're going to want to keep it moving. Don't get too close with the flame. You just move it back and forth quickly, and you will see all of those little tiny air bubbles pop. Okay, at this point I decided I was just going to go ahead and finish it with the red, the orange, and the yellow and the blue that I'm missing. So I mixed up another batch of resin, and here I am going to pour it into these cups, and then I'm going to add the pigments. So on the first three colors, I put the pigment in the bottom of the cup and then poured the resin in and then mixed it. And this time I'm going to do it the other way. I'm going to put the pigment in the cup after the resin. So now it's floating on top. I guess it doesn't really matter which order you do it, whether you put the pigment in the top of the cup or the bottom, as long as you mix it thoroughly for at least 1 minute. So now I'm going to go and pour the blue on the edge of the purple, where I did leave a space for the green, but you'll see that resin naturally levels itself out and spreads, so that's why there's no longer a space. But when you pour the resin in the ring, it kind of pushes it apart and makes its own room, and it also blends together beautifully. So now I'm just going to take my